A very warm welcome to you, Steve Kirsch. You were such a seminal part of getting the Barry Young data from New Zealand out around the world, and also, I might add, helping ensure that it was fully anonymised to the point where there has been no name from his data that has been revealed, even though they have spent a fortune here in New Zealand, the Ministry of Health, trying to compromise Barry Young, and by dint of that, you as well. So quite a triumph, Steve, but our friend is not by any means in the clear. Have you been following Barry Young's upcoming court case? It's happening in a few days, Steve.
I'm anxious to get updated.
Good. It's nice to see you. So
that's a no then.
Just an acknowledgement also, we've been talking about how bad Barry's sound has been. He's managed to dig out an old computer that was not uplifted by the police. And I want to register that with our audience that there is a marked difference in the quality of sound. So Barry, well done you.
Cool.
Let's get on with what has happened today, Barry. You have been given a new bout of evidence, a 19-page supplementary document from the Crown, who've had how many days to deliver this to you, and they're delivering it 3 days out from your trial?
Yeah, well, they've had 735 days since I've been arrested. So they took all my devices on that date, 3rd of December 2023. They had everything then, and they've waited this long to provide their expert opinion evidence to tell me how wrong I was. So it's 3 days from the trial. It's a 19-page document. It's quite wordy, and the other thing is I can't use it. I can't search on it, and they've given me in such a format that it is like I cannot cut or paste. I can't copy anything from it. It's an unusable document, pretty much. So
it's a paper document, or what is it?
No. It's a PDF. But they've given they've given it to me as an image file. So you know when you do searches for it, you can't search for it. You can't search for any text in it, and you can't select text. It's just a big blob of image.
Yeah. But you OCR it.
Yeah. And that's a pain in the ass, and it comes out with wrong words and stuff like that. But
use AI to OCR it.
That's like a double. That's a double hit then, because you get an AIs. Sometimes that makes stuff up, and you get the OCR making stuff up as well.
Send it to me.
Great, we've got a solution. This is brilliant,
Steve. If I do that, I'll be the first thing I've ever sent to you. Right? Let's just make that clear.
Okay, well, that's good progress.
Allegedly. Yeah, but,
Barry, I want to mention a particular clause in there that is very revealing. Yeah. So what's the thrust of this evidence? Because it's important.
The thrust of the evidence is to try and discredit me and my analysis. They still have not looked at the data that they've had in their possession for 735 days. They haven't looked at any of that stuff. All he's doing as an epidemiologist is trying to discredit me and the stuff that I did.
Wait a minute. Who's doing this? Who's the epidemiologist?
He's a retired professor. Do you want his name?
Yes,
I
definitely.
love his name. He seems to be an expert in this. Maybe he can help me explain the Czech data, because when I look at it, it shows that you were right.
When I look at the evidence that he refused to look at because he said it's not relevant to the hearing, when I look at it, it screams danger signals, and he hasn't even managed to look at that, because what he did, he opened it up in Excel, the spreadsheet, and he said, oh, no, I could only get to 1 million rows because of the limitations of Excel. So I stopped looking at it after that. It's crazy. And this guy's meant to be a professor. And he opens up a spreadsheet, it gets to 1 million rows, and then says, oh, it's too hard now.
And there are what, 2.5 million rows?
2.2 million rows. There's one row for every person who was on the system in New Zealand. Obviously, it's not the full population of New Zealand. And anyway, only 4 million people have been vaccinated in New Zealand. So anyway, his name is Professor Scragg, Robert Scragg, if you want to look him up. He's a recently retired epidemiologist. I think he may be Australian or living in Australia. But yes,
okay. Let me make a note.
So while you're looking that up, Steve, what we're having on Thursday is a Voir Dire, which is a pre-trial hearing, where they will consider whether Barry falls within the purview of the whistleblower protection legislation in New Zealand. He is an exemplary whistleblower, to the point that even when people have given money into my hand and I take it to Barry, he goes, "I can't take any money because that would compromise me as a whistleblower and compromise why I'm doing this," which is a very pure motivation to expose what he perceived as criminality from the excess deaths in the database that he built. So he's kept himself really pure. He falls right within the legislation. Instead, they're trying to say, you need somebody of a professor's standard, a PhD, a full qualified epidemiologist to be able to come within the purview of protection under our whistleblower legislation. If the judge says that is the test in New Zealand, Steve, in effect, we will have no whistleblower protection in this country. And furthermore, this will be used as a legal precedent in other Commonwealth countries, at least, such as Canada or the UK or Australia. So this is a seminal case, and it's a really important day on Thursday, December the 11th, 2025, when Barry Young will have his day in court under a Voir Dire, and we hope that it will be under a fair judge. But what was your reaction about the Czech data? Could you just go back to that? You said the Czech data does back up the New Zealand data. Am I correct there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Just explain that to people, because Professor Scragg doesn't seem to know.
Okay, Scragg, it's Scragg, right?
Correct, yeah. I just lost you guys then for about 30 seconds.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it is interesting. I don't know what the hell's going on.
So Scragg is a legit academic, for sure. He's got an H index of 87, which is impressively high.
A legitimate epidemiologist, isn't that an oxymoron these days?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah. So he writes about vitamin D. And,
yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's the guy, right?
That's the guy. So
vitamin D supplementation to prevent things like COVID.
You can't make this stuff up. So he said in paragraph 70, a measure of the safety of the COVID-19 vaccines is that meds.
Now this is interesting, Steve. We've had...
Because the government doesn't take...
Sorry, read that again, Steve. Read that again, Barry. Steve, we've had constant communications problems with Barry. It's been interesting. So yeah. Read that paragraph again.
So he's basically saying that because MedSafe no longer monitor.
No, you have to cut out that you cut out. So read that paragraph again. Just read that whole thing.
So it says a measure of the safety of the COVID-19 vaccines is that MedSafe no longer maintains reports on them. And then there's a link to a website. And then he goes on to say, if it had deemed the vaccine to be unsafe, MedSafe would have continued to monitor its safety.
There you go.
So
I mean, that's like physics. It's a law of physics, you know. Like I've never heard of that before.
Where's the science in that? Where's the science? Oh, it's so safe that we don't even have to look at it.
That's not scientific. That's not a measure of safety.
No, it's evidence.
And this is crucial for Thursday because it cuts to the very heart of his qualification to be an expert when they're trying to discredit Barry. So, Steve, perhaps we could begin there from your work with Barry on this data. I believe he's just as an ordinary Kiwi, I could look at the data and see there were very concerning signs, and that should be the test. An ordinary person looking at it who has a sincere belief that there is something worrying and possibly criminal, and that they must speak up as a whistleblower. But Barry has more than an ordinary person's understanding. He has a pretty good knack with statistics and being able to look through data. Would you agree with that, Steve Kirsch?
Yeah. I mean, look, data analysis is much harder than it looks, and so you can do some things which look very troubling. but you have to be really careful about drawing conclusions from those signals. And so for example, oh, look, there's a site where they injected 20 people and 20 people died. Well, we have to look at what were their ages. Was this an old age home where people are being sent to die? It's a that sort of thing. So you have to be careful. But there's so many signs with this vaccine, especially when you look at the dose difference. And again, the batch differences, but once again, the batches could have been distributed non-randomly to places, and so you have to look at the average age of people who got the batch and so forth. You can't just say, "Oh, look, this batch has 20 people got it and 20 people died." Well, could be that was given to all 90 or 100-year-olds. 100-year-olds have like a 50% chance of dying in a year, but 100%, not going to happen in a year. And so even if you take the extreme case, if you ever got a case where you gave 20 administrations of a particular batch and everybody died, that would be that'd be hard to explain statistically.
Yeah. Yes. And that's all I need. I only need to have reasonable grounds. I don't need to have a professorship in epidemiology to explain that. The test is just to have an ordinary worker to have reasonable grounds or reasonable suspicion.
There's no doubt. Right? I mean, exactly. You didn't do this because you were going to start a film career or write a book or something. You knew that if you did this, that you could go to jail. And so you were aware of the consequences, and there's no upside other than doing the right thing for humanity and as a person. That was the reason that you did it. But what would disqualify you from the New Zealand whistleblower protection? I mean, are they alleging something in the statute that?
There are three things. I didn't have reasonable grounds. I didn't follow the act, and I did it in bad faith.
You didn't follow the act, huh?
Yeah. It's the procedure.
And they're alleging all three, right?
Yeah. That's the reason why the minister, the health minister, is not looking at it now. Even though I sent him a proper protected disclosure email, he said, "Oh no, you don't qualify. So I'm just going to dismiss it now. I'm not even going to look at it." So that's basically their rationale now, because they are saying I don't qualify without even looking at how I don't qualify. And that's what this Voir Dire is for. We're going to see, do I have the reasonable grounds? Do I pass all these tests? Did I disclose it properly? You don't have to follow the act verbatim. You can do it, as best you can, which is what I did. I didn't know the existence of the act at the time. I was just, winging it. I was doing good faith. And I took a lot of advice from a lot of people. And that was probably the best thing I could have done, because the act allows you to do that. I mean, I remember talking to you about it. Steve, you gave me some really good advice on what to do. And I really appreciate that. And Liz, you as well. So,
and when you insisted that, you had it all ready to go to every member of Parliament, the assumption by me was that you understood that was all part of the process of the whistleblower protection. But it happened that you had done that simply as an actor of great good faith, as a man of great good faith. You knew that you wanted to put everybody on notice. So, in fact, Barry, you did follow the procedures that are required, but nobody's meant to follow it verbatim. You're not meant to be a legal expert to get legal protection. I
substantially complied. And I didn't know that, you only have to disclose to your employers, which is it's kind of weird, because you can't blow a whistle in a vacuum, right? And that's that's a big problem with the act, that they only want you to disclose to your organization, which to me, that seems counterintuitive. That's not whistleblowing. Right. A whistle is designed to communicate a signal, a danger signal, right? You want to broadcast something, hence the whistle. So, and that's exactly what I thought I was doing.
It leaves you very vulnerable if you do only that.
Exactly.
So the point
is this a jury trial or is this a bench trial?
A voir dire is just a pre-trial hearing with a judge alone. But if it does go the correct way, legally, which it should do, where he is declared a whistleblower, it would mean the end of the criminal trial against him, Steve. And at that point, look, there may still be some vestiges of employment law, but I doubt that. It would mean that he could then put that out in public and it could go to the world and be compared with the Czech data, which is so important. Barry has no faith that the judicial system here will uphold the right way and declare him a whistleblower. Talk about that, Barry.
Oh, so what do they think you are? An evil person who wants to harm people? Like what is their hypothesis here?
A dangerous conspiracy theorist that should be in jail. They call us cookers over here. And the thing is, I know.
Sean, what's his name?
Sean Plonker.
Plunkett. Yeah. My good friend who doesn't let me get a word in edgewise.
Oh, any of us.
Yeah.
So the point of that is that they're still trying to take it back to sort of circa 2022 and pretend that the world has not woken up to 1,000 different reports showing the dangers of mRNA. But this is such an important case, Steve. I can't see that they can rule against him being a whistleblower without exposing themselves. So it's quite a checkmate.
We shall see. They're they're itching to put you in jail. It's like, and it's insane. You know what happened at the CDC when they found out there were child deaths at the CDC? You know what the CDC did? They covered it up.
Yes.
They didn't go to investigate, which is what they should have done. Anyone who's, halfway honest would have looked at these child deaths and said, we need to investigate. They said, we need to cover this up so that we don't create vaccine hesitancy.
Yes.
And when was these reports? It was a while ago, wasn't it? It just came to light recently.
This just came out from the FDA, but the child reports came out 4 years ago.
Yes, 4 years.
And I wrote about them at the time, and I said, you can't have 14 kids that die from cerebral hemorrhage. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Yeah, but one of the things, they are so desperate, like you said, to put me in jail. They are going to, if it goes my way, if I win this, they are going to instantly appeal it. And this is unprecedented. They've actually written a memo telling the judge, if you do not agree with us, we're going to appeal it immediately and go to the Solicitor General.
Of course.
So it's going to go to the highest court in the land almost immediately. So once they do that, everything's back on the table. So I will enjoy immunity for a fraction of a second, and then it's back on again. So they're not going to give it up.
I mean, doesn't it show, Steve, that there is something inside this data that they are absolutely desperate, does not come out publicly? And what did they say when we first put it out? Hey, there's nothing to see in the data. It's no big deal. There's nothing. Don't worry, anybody. And they've done the same in the UK. I was talking to Andrew Bridgen. They're trying to cover up the UK data under saying, if we put it out, it'll shock people too much and they'll get too scared. And so we mustn't. We must look after the people by hiding the data. These are criminals hiding their crimes, in effect now. Are they not, Steve? This is what's going on around the world.
Yeah. I'd be happy to analyze their data for them because they seem incapable of analyzing it themselves. But they don't want anyone to analyze the data. The fact that they don't want to have anyone analyze the data should be telling anybody with a brain that's still working that they're hiding something.
Yes.
Okay? Because if there's nothing to hide, why not release the entire data set? And that, I mean, like to anybody who's a critical thinker or has any critical thinking skills left, it's like, look, guys, if you've got nothing to hide, why don't you release the whole data set? The Kirsch already released half of the data, and what harm came to somebody?
Zero.
Right? So why don't you release the full data so that we can analyze it properly and see if there's a safety signal or not. Like, you guys are concerned about safety, right? So why aren't you doing that? Why haven't you analyzed your own data set? Like, could you show me the analysis that you did of your data set? Like, do you have a FOIA into them?
An
asking
OIA,
them for,
yes, official information.
Yeah, OIA in your case. But do you have a request into the government saying, hey, I'd like all documents that show the analysis that you did on your own data showing that the vaccine is safe? I would like to see that analysis. I would like to see that analysis. Like, I would really like to see that analysis. And when they say no documents exist that meet your request, the judge should go apeshit.
Yes.
Like, how are these people saying that this guy's a bad guy when the organization itself doesn't analyze its own safety data? Like, I can't believe that we're even having this discussion.
That's the Ministry of Health, and I just sent you, before we came to air, Steve, a letter from Dan Picknell, a retired frontline police officer of 19 years who's written to the head of the police saying the same thing. Can you just let me know, have you actually analysed the data itself to see that the criminal you went after with 8 cops smashing into his home, picking up all his gear, putting him in prison for 2 nights after we published this data, have you actually analysed the data to see if actually the criminality is on the part of the government under Ardern or the Ministry of Health hiding the truth? He asked that in that police letter to the head of the new head of the police.
And
so
what's the
both
answer?
well, we haven't had a reply, but the new Commissioner of Police in New Zealand needs to take that question very seriously, because it looks as if the police, in just delivering the government as the government's henchmen, have not actually looked at the crime itself and where the criminality lies. It certainly does not lie with Barry Young, who has, I would say, Steve, has really suffered for doing this. I can tell you in the last 2 years, since we sort of lost, we did a flurry of interviews, and then we kind of lost touch. Any time I called Barry, he would say, I'm working on my case. He's running his own case. He's been inordinately brave. He's never complained. He's had so many setbacks from their game playing, legally speaking, and he has kept going. On that alone, he's a hero. And there is, as you pointed out, zero upside for Barry. He's lost his income. He's lost his sort of life for 2 years. He's being put through all of these lies and twistings in the court. I mean, this is the stuff of movies. He's a damn hero. He's like one of those, Clint Eastwood characters who just doesn't give up.
It's not about till it's over.
But I still want to know the answer to the question. Did you give them an OIA for their analysis that they did of their own data?
They ignore me.
They can't ignore you legally. You have a right to that information.
There's a lot of things they can't do legally, but they do it.
So they just ignore it. But you can take them to court. That's
This isn't America, Steve. We don't do stuff like that here. And even the judge.
So they're allowed to just disobey the law because it's convenient?
They will, absolutely. The Protected Disclosures Act will be null and void this Thursday. I guarantee it.
That is
they will just dismiss an entire act of Parliament. That's how they roll. So
fine. So have them produce it in court. Ask them under oath. So can I see the report? You should subpoena the report. You're entitled to discovery. Subpoena the report, and if they don't provide it, the judge should put them into contempt and put them in jail.
Yeah.
And that is a fair
until
point.
They provide it.
That is a fair point, and everything he goes after them on, they will take him all the way through, because what they're trying to do is at every point make him, through prolonged legal action, wear him down mentally and, financially as well if he wasn't doing his own court case. But everything is either not answered or it's delayed, or as we've just seen, Steve, something's put out 3 days ahead of the trial, a 19-page document from lawyers to to a man who's not trained as a lawyer. I mean, this is now looking
Barry.
so David and Goliath, and it's not working for them. But I agree with you, Steve, on a level playing field. That is what you do. We are not on a level playing field. Anything Barry writes to them that they ignore, and then he writes again, and then he writes again, comes back still ignored, doesn't it, Barry?
Yeah, they tried to deny the existence of my whistleblown email for about a year. And it was only when I saw it in an information request in OIA that someone else did that I happened to, find out, oh, hang on a minute, what's all this? They actually do have a copy of it. And they'd been denying it constantly. And this is the prosecution. The Crown were denying its existence. And Health New Zealand were denying it.
Even though they provided it under...
yes,
wow.
to somebody else.
We're talking
whoa.
Big-time corruption here.
Yeah. But it depends with OIAs. Sometimes you get someone who actually will do their job and will provide you with the information that you want. Sometimes you don't. And it's very hit and miss here. And one of the good ones I found, the head of CALM, I think, who may be conflicted, wrote to me about the number of adverse events following immunization, AEFI, and according to the latest New Zealand statistics, we have over 20,000 serious adverse events that have been reported to CALM. And out of 4 million vaccinated people, that's about 1 in 200 reporting a serious adverse event. Now, these are serious, life-threatening things, not just a cold or a headache or whatever.
Yeah.
These are serious events.
That is called an unsafe vaccine, Barry.
They admitted that. They admitted that in an OIA. And the other OIA I got something actually really good from was I asked the number of deaths from COVID, just from COVID, not with COVID. And they gave me the data for that, which was delinked in February 2024, by the way. But up until then, it showed that if you're vaccinated, you have a higher chance of dying from COVID. I think it was the stats were about 1.5 times higher for the vaccinated people than the unvaccinated. So does that mean that the unvaccinated people in New Zealand are some kind of super immune systems and they don't need vaccinations? Or what's going on here? Please explain that one. It means you're unvaccinated, you've got a lesser chance of dying from COVID, plus the benefit, you will never ever have an adverse event.
Absolutely.
Steve, I'd like you to go back to just what you saw in the Czech data that echoes the New Zealand data, because it will really engage New Zealanders, I think. And we are appealing here. I'm going to ask everybody to share this interview everywhere you can. And we're appealing for as many people to come to Barry's trial, which is, we're going to be there from 9 o'clock, December the 11th, this Thursday. And it's at the Wellington District Court. We need thousands spilling out onto the pavement because I believe, Steve, the way you get real justice in this country now, sadly, is if they know the world's eyes are on the case and the judge does not want to lift his or her garments and show rather tawdry underbelly of, possible political interference. So we need the judge to know that you are being watched, and that happens when we share interviews and we support Barry in that way. But could you just go back to that Czech data, what you saw that you felt from what you also saw in the New Zealand data, intersections of evidence?
Yeah, so there were lots of things. We could start with, was the vaccine effective? And the answer is no, it wasn't effective. What happened is that the people who opted for the vaccine were people who had 2 or 3 times higher mortality than people of the same age who opted to be vaccinated. So you're unvaccinated, you're going to have like a 3 times higher than the people who opted for the vaccine, not because of the vaccine, just because of the selection bias between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. So because of that, and because COVID is a non-proportional hazard, which means that if you have a 3 times difference in mortality between groups, you might have let's say a 9 times difference in COVID mortality. So the very people that you want to vaccinate with the vaccine, if it worked, which it doesn't, but the very people you want to vaccinate to make a difference is the unvaccinated. But they won't go for it, right? So the point is that they're the most vulnerable, is the unvaccinated. So even if the vaccine totally worked, it wouldn't have any effect because you're giving it to the wrong people. You're giving it to the people who are at the lowest risk of getting COVID. But it gets better, because if you go and you make a comparison using the Czech data and you equalize the mortality of the cohorts, you can then track them over time. You can look at them during COVID, during non-COVID. And what happens is you equalize the mortality. You pick groups, you pick a younger group of unvaccinated people to equalize the mortality. So instead of adjusting by age, which is what most people do, because they assume that people of equal age have equal mortality. Wrong. In this case, you need to go and pick people with the same mortality in order to compare them. And then you look at them during COVID versus non-COVID. You find their mortality goes up the same amount, regardless of whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated. Okay? Really important. So it means that the vaccine effect was just selecting out the people with lower mortality, and voila, you get lower COVID mortality because they have lower underlying mortality. So once you equalize them and you say, hey, two groups, equal mortality going into it, and we'll vaccinate this group but not vaccinate the other group, it makes no difference. Their mortality during COVID versus non-COVID is identical, regardless of whether they're vaccinated or not. That is like the most important thing to know, is that it's based on equalizing. If you equalize the mortality, there's no benefit, which means the vaccines don't work. It was a pure statistical mirage. And we can also calculate from the Czech data, we can calculate the case fatality rate. The case fatality rate is proportional to their underlying mortality. So if you have a group with 3 times higher mortality, they're going to have 3 times higher COVID fatality rate. Duh. It has everything to do with their mortality. It has nothing to do with whether they were vaccinated or not. It's their underlying mortality that makes the difference. So that's the benefit. So now all you're left with is downside. And we can look at this Czech data, and we can do what's called an event time series, which means we look at from time zero, from the time that they got the shot, and then we look we don't care what month they got the shot in, but we look at how many deaths there were a week later, a week after that, a week after that. And what happens is, and we can see this in calendar time too, but it's easier to see in event time, which means your x-axis is essentially the time since the dose. Yeah. And when we do that, we see this rising curve, and it rises for about 12 weeks and then flatlines. And they found a very similar pattern in Japan. Same pattern. In fact, they did this. They showed this curve in Japan where they overlaid everybody, and the x-axis was time since the last dose before you died, right? So that everybody would overlap. Yeah. And it should have been a flat line. If the vaccine is perfectly safe, that should have been a flat line. That had a peak. Not supposed to have a peak. The only way it could have a peak is if you have an unsafe vaccine. So, and I did the time series analysis, and I did it by restricting the calendar date on which you got the shot to be a time when COVID was falling or flat, and it would be flat for 4 months. And then I looked at what's this time series going to do, because what it should do is it should fall, because the background mortality is basically falling because COVID was waning. And so I picked people who got vaccinated when COVID was going down or COVID was flat. And so it had to be going down or flat for 4 months with that cohort. It went up. End of story. And then I created a new analysis method called K-core, which is the Kirsch cumulative outcomes ratio method. And it basically neutralizes the slopes, the mortality slopes of different cohorts, so they can be fairly compared. And then I do the cumulative hazard function and I take the ratio of the two cohorts, and that tells me whether things are being, the vaccine was beneficial or the vaccine was harmful as a function of time. So I can find out maybe this isn't net beneficial for the first 3 months during COVID, but maybe it was harmful after that. And so I can actually see over time whether these curves are above 1, which means it's harmful, or below 1, which means it's helpful, or 1, which means it did nothing. Yeah. And all the curves are very consistent, and I can fit them very precisely using this new method, and it's quite stunning, really, to be able to do that and to have to know nothing about the cohorts other than their date of birth, their date of death, and their date of vaccinations. Yeah. And armed with that data, I don't need any comorbidity information. I don't even need age. Well, I mean, I've got their date of birth, but I don't even need that. All I really need is cohorts which were vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and I can then characterize their mortality rate over time, their natural curve based on it, which is due to the heterogeneity of the cohort, because people who are unvaccinated have people who die more. And so they're going to have people with what's called higher frailty, higher Gompertz frailty. And the combination then causes depletion. You have a depletion of susceptibles, which then causes the hazard function of time to go down over time, and then it eventually turns the other way and goes up. Whereas the cohort that is vaccinated, those guys are going to go actually up faster than they would normally, because you're taking out the sick people. So and it has to add up. The deaths all have to add up to what they were before. So it's really quite interesting. But the point is that you can characterize this stuff. You can normalize the cohorts, and when you do that and compare them, what you find is that the people who got the vaccine died more. It's really clear. Okay. And nobody will challenge me on this. In fact, very few people even understand what I just said.
Yeah.
Wow. And so if you look at Japan and you look at the Czech data and then you look at the anonymized New Zealand data that you have, you're seeing the same
patterns. Same pattern. Yeah, I saw the time series in the US data, and then I saw it in the New Zealand data, and then I saw it in the Czech data, and I saw it in the Israeli data, and I saw it in the Japan data. Like, either it's the greatest coincidence of all time, or the vaccines are killing people. What do you think is more likely?
Oh, Steve, you know RFKJ.
It's a coincidence, of course.
Yeah. You know RFKJ. Is he responsive when you ring him up? And I know you've got his number.
He's hard to get a hold of. He's very very careful nowadays.
These days, yeah, I can imagine.
Well, I mean, there it is. There it is for those people who really are data obsessed and won't look around in society. For me, I look around in society. For me, I go to, for example, a funeral I went to the other day in New Zealand, Steve, and they were rushing people through, and they said, "We've got the next one in 20 minutes," and I went, "Have you ever seen this many funerals where you have to rush the last funeral out of the crematorium so that you can rush the next one in?" And she said, "No." And I said, "You need to talk up about that." But New Zealanders are not yet talking up. But the evidence is everywhere that we have a lot of New Zealanders dying. And it's unusual, and we've never seen it like this. However, those who want science, and statistics and numbers, Steve and Barry's data will show it to you. But what we have to do is, whether we agree or not, we all have to come together and demand that this truth is let out. So maybe, Steve Kirsch, just your feeling about Barry Young. Did you ever, in any of your interactions with him, feel that he was doing this for some nefarious, self-promoting ideal where he was going to buy a Hawaiian island once he'd been lauded as
the old Hawaiian island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Nope. Never felt that. And I'll tell you, I've been just baffled that the New Zealand Department of I forget the
Health New Zealand.
Health New Zealand. Yeah. So I'm baffled as to why don't they just publish their analysis of the data?
That's a brilliant
Why
point.
don't they publish their analysis of the data? The fact that they haven't done that tells you everything you need to know. You don't even need to see it. The fact that they've never published an analysis of their own data, what the fuck is going on?
And that's totally appropriate. So why did they not take Barry in and say, show us what you've got? We are keen to do this.
They should be. They should be embracing you. If these people were honest, if there was an honest person who worked at Health New Zealand, they would be embracing you and saying, Barry, let me see what you think you found, because we're not looking at the data at all. We're incompetent.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they gave it to the professor and he didn't even look at it either. It's like, that's how bad it is. And he's the expert witness for the Crown.
Yeah.
He opened a spreadsheet, he saw 1 million views and said, oh, forget it, I'm not looking anymore.
But for him to say they're not even reporting it, and I know the VAERS database in America has only sporadic reports of New Zealand. They've become fewer and fewer. I know that from Albert Benavides, Steve, who follows it assiduously. He's a good man, that Albert. But he said there are fewer and fewer reports coming across from New Zealand. Well, there we have it in Professor Scragg's paper, in that paragraph, saying we don't really even need to report it anymore because there are no problems with the jab. The people know they're lying. They think that we don't know that they're lying, and that's where they're making their huge mistakes. So, Steve, after this Thursday trial, I'm optimistic. Barry is pessimistic. We will contact you again, and we'll get the outcome around the world. If you could get this around the world, everyone watching this, we'd appreciate it. We need all the support we can muster for Barry.
Yeah, send me the link.
I'm not being optimistic about this, you're right. But I am optimistic by nature. I know that this is not a thing we'll win. And even if they do go ahead, then it's going to bring on the trial, and that's going to be even worse for them.
Yes. My feeling is this, that they don't actually want you to go to prison because it would make a hero of you. They don't want you to win a court case, so they don't want the main court case. My feeling is
they're just going to drag it out.
They're just going to drag it out. So that's what they did to Jonathan and me for as long as they possibly could till it got ridiculous. So what I said to Jonathan was, you know what? We've done all the work for it that we can do. So we're not even going to think about it. We're not going to worry about it. It's in God's hands and we'll be taken care of. And eventually we were. And that's the same with you. I think they just want it to fade away quietly, but I don't think Kiwis will let it. And, you know, I see people posting it everywhere now. So it's brilliant, Baz.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those stories that's just not going to go away because it affects people's lives every day.
Yeah.
Every day people are living with injuries or, you know, something's happening somewhere. I mean, I got a Christmas letter from my ex-mother-in-law, and she's always been perfectly healthy, never drank alcohol or smoked or anything like that. Fit as a fiddle. She's 82 now, so she's getting on a bit. But her list of ailments, my God, and she's fully vaccinated, and all her family. The Christmas message read like a glossary of all the vaccine injuries. Her brother died of a brain aneurysm. Her sister-in-law had cancer and then died of a stroke. And she was only in her 60s. So that's just this year. It's just crazy what's going on. Absolutely crazy.
If you sit in a cafe and just wait, you'll often hear somebody pick up a phone and they'll talk about, oh, you've been in hospital too. So have I. This happened the other day. And then, oh, well, I suppose we're getting older. And then listed all of these complications. And all of these old people who are walking around like World War I wounded. They're all limping. They're all on sticks or walkers. I mean, New Zealand looks like a war zone if you go into an elderly area. And older Kiwis, my father played tennis till he was 93. We never used to have this level of decrepit older people. And I'm talking maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, and they refuse to question it. Yeah,
they do. And that's the healthcare system. The budget is colossal. now, and it's only just going to get worse. And they're thinking, oh, it's a good thing that we can now give prescriptions for 12 months, and it's a good thing that Labour's going to bring 3 free appointments for doctors or something. Hang on a minute, you want to try and get them healthy? Yes. That's a win. Do what Kennedy's doing. Yep. Make it healthy. Get rid of the sugar and all the additives and processed food.
Yeah, but I'd like to see Kennedy stop the mRNA, Barry.
Oh, I know.
I really would.
That would be just a perfect day, wouldn't it?
Oh,
but
it's high
again,
time.
it's probably not going to happen. It's awkward, but
it's a very powerful lobby.
I think he's got a good heart. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is.
It's like the most powerful of the lot.
Absolutely. But, look at Candace Owen and what she's up against, a massive, powerful lobby. And she just keeps saying in her podcast, which is nothing short of extraordinary, she's just an amazing journalist, but she keeps saying, I'm just telling the truth. And it's easy when you tell the truth. You don't have to remember things. You don't have to hide things. You just have to get up every day and tell the truth. And I just know that in God's world, the truth will win out in the end. And that's where I think that's where you've got the massive advantage over them.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie or anything like that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna go with that. And
always. So just say,
because I haven't done anything wrong. So what are the
you've been a hero. I really meant that in that line. I might put a little bit of this end bit in. Now Steve's gone. I might add a little bit on just at the end of this. We'll put this out today and send that document to Steve, and we're going to get on the road, and I will see you in Wellington, my friend.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
Brave man. And please, anybody else who can join us, December the 11th, 9 a.m. outside the Wellington District Court. Come and support Barry Young, and please share this interview everywhere. You will.
All right.
You're a good man.